Welcome everyone to another video of Small Business Treasury. Today I want to talk about a very important topic regarding checks and the explanation and importance of having positive pay within your treasury systems, within your organization to make sure you prevent fraud from happening. So I want to show this example here. This is a standard checkbook, as you can see. And if you ever uh, in an organization that issues a lot of checks, maybe to your vendors, maybe to your employees, maybe to your contractors, you're fully aware that in your checkbook, it shows some very important information regarding your organization. As you can clearly see here on the top left corner, you'll see the business name and the address. And then at the bottom, which is the most important part, you'll see your routing number and you'll see your account number. Now, you may be asking how important this may be regarding your treasury systems and how it's relevant to your organization. And by the way, this is relevant from all organizations, from small business owners, from single entrepreneurs, all the way to billion-dollar organizations. And I'll tell you exactly how billion-dollar organizations handle prevention of check fraud, and how we have treasury systems in place to make sure that these checks and important information regarding the company's bank account is not leaked in any way. And if it is leaked, how it can be prevented from being misused. Okay, so whenever you have a check, you will quickly realize that you are exposed heavily because you have your routing number and your account number. And if the check is into the wrong hands, that information can be misused to debit funds from your account or draft funds from your account. Now, in my experience in corporate treasury over the past 10 years, I've seen multiple different types of fraud regarding checks. One of the most common use of check fraud was when an organization is check information is leaked. Maybe they found the check on the floor. Maybe there was an internal employee who leaked the check information to the black market. Maybe there was an employee who didn't dispose of the check properly. Whatever the case may be, the check information was leaked. Now, the reason why that's very important to note is because there are many criminals and fraudsters out there who are able to recreate checks using your routing number and your account number from your organization. Okay, so they are able to mimic a fraudulent check using routing number and the account number, and I've seen this happen multiple times within even large corporations, especially in large corporations. This is most common in organizations that appear a lot in the news, where they are maybe going through mergers and acquisitions, or maybe they issue a lot of checks, or maybe they issue a lot of checks for their employees, for their vendors, whatever it may be. But the point is that the checks are issued on a high volume basis, or the organization appears on the news, and they are a target to fraudsters and criminals. So what these fraudsters and criminals do is they're able to recreate a fake check using the routing number, the account number. And if your company and your organization does not have proper check prevention protocols in place within the banking system, you are going to be exposed to being a victim to fraud. Because if the fraudster is able to recreate a check, issue a fake check with their name on it, uh, put in the amount, put in the date, create a fake signature, go to the bank, issue the check to be cashed or issue a check to be deposited, and you don't have anything in your organization, in your banking portal, in your treasury systems preventing that fake check from being issued, they will debit the account. Okay, so now let me give you an example on the issuing component of a fraudulent check. In large corporations, what we have is we refer to as positive pay. Positive pay is simply an alert that we, the organization who issues the check, notifies our bank that we issued this check amount, this on this date to this individual for whatever services rendered, or for whatever issue that we're making a payment, and we notify that bank that we are going to be issuing that check. The bank now receives that information and they say, okay, we can expect this check to be cashed in the foreseeable future. Okay, Now, the importance of it is through positive pay, it's notified to the bank in multiple different ways, but the most common ways are either through a positive pay file or a manual positive pay entry within the banking portal. Now, again, these are treasury services that are specifically for small businesses all the way to large corporations. I'm telling you how large corporations handle these types of situations, and you want to be able to implement these procedures within your organization to make sure you are protected against check fraud. So at large corporations, at the billion-dollar organizations, we have our positive pay files because we issue hundreds of checks on a daily basis. So we go ahead and make sure that every time we issue a check, our AP specialists are uploading Excel files containing all the check information of all the checks that are being issued within the coming, 30 days, 60 days, whatever it may be. And we issue and we notify that to the bank and we upload that file. The bank then reviews the file, they accept it, and they are fully aware that they are going to be expecting these checks to be cashed at any moment. Now, this is where positive pay exceptions come in. If there's ever a moment where the bank sees that this check number does not match the information that was uploaded on the positive pay file, they will send what is called a positive pay exception. And meaning they are notifying the owner of the bank account, or in this case, the owner of the business, or whoever's overseeing the daily day transactions within the bank at your organization, that there is an attempt of a fraudulent check and you need to review. So let me give a clear example. I have your check number 1012. I put down $1,000, this amount on this day for an individual. If a couple weeks go by and we see that the bank receives an attempt to cash a check for the same check number, but it does not match the information in the positive pay file, they will alert it and send it to the Treasury Department of the business owner and say, hey, by the way, you have an attempt of someone attempting to cash this check, but it does not match the information that was submitted within the file. Is it a legitimate check or is it a fraudulent check? 99% of the time it's going to be a fraudulent check, because if you submitted the file, then all the information should match properly. But if there's a mismatch, also known as a positive pay mismatch, then that's when the bank will notify you, and then you have to go in there and review. And you review it by looking at the check information. They'll show you an image of the check. They'll show you this is a check that's attempted to be cashed, and you'll notice very quickly it's a fraudulent check. Maybe it's not in the same format. Maybe it's a name that you don't recognize. Maybe it's an amount that you don't recognize. And immediately you can reject the check and it won't be cashed on the other side. That is so important to have within your organization to make sure you have positive pay for check prevention, for check fraud prevention, because that allows you to protect your capital, to make sure that there's nobody who's able to debit your account with the information from your checks. Okay, as I said, fraudsters and criminals get very creative when it comes to recreating fake checks. They're able to use these fancy equipment to recreate checks and put your information there and attempt to cash it. And the organizations that do not have positive pay check fraud prevention on their systems will become victims to check fraud. That is the importance of positive pay. And you as a founder, you as a CEO, you as a C executive need to be aware of the consequences of not having these types of protocols in place within your department. As I mentioned multiple times, Treasury is not the hot topic. It's something that is not spoken about enough among small business owners, and they have to learn the hard way. Implementing safe Treasury protocols and procedures and services within your organization costs very little. The cost to prevent these things from happening is slim to none. All it takes is a little bit of research. Watch these videos. I give a lot of information for free from how the big organizations do it. The same services are offered to small business owners and small businesses. It's the exact same services. The only thing that changes is maybe the price and maybe the setup, but the services have remained the same. I am showing you all how to do it from a corporate level, how $1 billion organizations prevent check fraud. All you have to do is spend a little bit of time, educate yourself, watch the videos, do some research, ask your banker, get in contact with your CFO, come up with a strategy, and prevent these things from happening. It'll cost you maybe a weekend, maybe a couple $100 to make sure everything is implemented properly, but you will be able to reduce your way from becoming a victim to check fraud significantly. And that's just one example of many ways that Treasury prevents fraud from happening within your organization. Treasury, it's all about protecting the capital within your organization, making sure you're fully liquid to operate your daily operations. And Treasury is there to make sure that you protect the capital that you work so hard to obtain. Okay, this is one example of how we as a business owners and individuals who are involved in the financials of an organizations protect the company's bottom line. You have to make sure that you speak with your bankers to make sure everything is set up properly, to make sure positive pay is activated. It costs very little. These bankers will be able to help you set up everything, but it's not the banker's job to explain these things to you for you to go ahead and implement it. You have to be knowledgeable as a founder CEO to go ahead and implement these and talk with your CFO and your head of accounting to make sure you have a proper strategy in place. The cost to prevent things from happening is fractions of a penny to the things that can happen if you allow it and you ignore it and you don't have it in place. Okay, and I'll give you an example. If it takes you a couple $100 and a few hours on a weekend to start to discuss with your CFO how to implement check fraud, but that can prevent a $25,000, a $50,000, a $10,000, $5,000 check fraud from occurring, you've saved your company so much time and effort. Because if you are a victim to fraud, you're now fighting multiple battles. You're trying to fight the bank to get the money back. You're trying to get lawyers to sue the individual who's a criminal. You're trying to hire investigators to research into everything that's going on. The cost and loss in productivity and the loss of capital that goes into being a victim to fraud is significantly more than the cost up front to prevent it from happening, especially in growing businesses who are focused on growth, who are focused on their ambitions, they're focused on meeting their quarterly and annually goals. Those companies are the most vulnerable because with fast growth means you're finding pockets within your organization that you could be a victim to. And treasury is the number one thing that goes ignored all the way around because it's not talked about enough. Treasury is not the sexy topic. It's not FP&A. It's not M&A. It's none of these things that are talked about all over the world. But it's the thing that protects your capital. It protects your business. It protects you from making sure that you're not victims to fraud. Okay, treasury is the most important thing. Now, whether you have a treasury department within your organization or you want to delegate that to your CFO, the strategies, implementations, and the policies remain the same. Okay, you have to make sure that you protect the capital that you work hard to get. Be proactive, not reactive. The cost to be preventative is fractions in comparison to the loss of productivity and, most importantly, the loss of capital whenever you become a victim. Because most companies, they learn the hard way. They learn after something has happened. They learn after they become a victim to wire fraud, ACH fraud, to check fraud, and then they have to go and research, and then they have to go and fight the legal battles, and then they have to try to recover. Instead, you can learn it from the beginning, be preventative, and make sure that doesn't happen to you. Protect your organization, protect your company's bottom line, and make sure you're doing the small things to protect the company's capital. Okay, watch these videos. I'm going to be posting them weekly, about 2 to 3 times a week, discussing the importance of everything related to treasury, everything from cash management to liquidity to excess cash to revolvers to making sure you're preventing check fraud, ACH fraud, wire fraud. My background is in corporate treasury. I've been doing it for over a decade. I work at a $1 billion organization. I lead the treasury department at that organization. My duty here, my goal is to help small business owners to make sure they're educated in these small things and make sure they're educated to protecting their businesses. I come from a family of small business owners. I know the pain it is to become victims of certain situations of fraud. Okay, so my job here is to help you all understand and make sure that you're well educated so you can make good decisions. All right, that's all for today's video.